Right, welcome everyone to Faz Lifts Podcast, episode 19. Guest with me today is Ollie Jackson. This is a new one that I'm starting up today. It's called Competitors Corner. And I'd quite like to get some of my competitor friends on to just talk about themselves, answer a few questions, and look at things more from the the competitor and client's perspective. I've generally had quite a lot of coaches on, and that's been really interesting. But I think it's also good to give this side of the story too. So, Ollie, you're my first guest on the Competitors Corner. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Good, man. Yeah, all good, all good. So, what I'll do is I'll just give you a brief introduction about what I know of you, and then if you want to just fill in a little bit. So, Ollie and I have known each other. Yeah, great. Ollie and I have known each other for a few years on the forums. Ollie's got ridiculously huge quads, and for some reason he used to be in men's physique. So we're glad he's grown out of that. He's done a good few competitions, and he just basically gets better and better. So he's one of those guys who really seems to have awesome off seasons, which I'm very jealous of, and I hope to aspire to myself. Ollie, do you want to just fill in a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I got into lifting at about 16. Mini intro first. I'm 26 now, British, as you can hopefully still tell from my accent, even though I've been living in Australia for the best part of 4 years now, Sydney.
Yeah.
So I played football or soccer for anyone that's not English from when I was 6 until about 17. Got into the gym at about 16. My first real workouts, I trained quads and chest and biceps every single day. That's every single day of the week.
That's how to
chest
do it.
And quads did well. Yeah, chest and quads did well. Biceps are still shite, so there's something on there. But never took the training seriously, but never really took the diet or anything else too seriously until I probably hit maybe 23. By then I'd finished uni, I guess finished my sort of drinking years, and did a year off just to travel Australia, Southeast Asia, Europe, all that sort of stuff.
Nice.
Got in contact with Alex after I'd already done a couple of men's physique shows back then. I don't know if it's still the same now, but it was back in the day of having about 60 or 70 competitors in every single fucking men's physique class. So I think I got a couple of shows with second and third call out. Didn't look too bad. Okay, decent structure, but never was really lean enough or particularly confident on stage, to be honest. Or maybe I just wasn't pretty enough. I don't know.
That's why I'm moving into bodybuilding. I'm just not pretty enough for physique.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So so I grew a beard and went full on with bodybuilding. I've been coached by someone you've had on actually your show 3 times now, I believe.
That's right,
Alex. I'm going to butcher his last name. I always think it's Shinas.
I've gone
along those lines.
I went with Shinaz, and he didn't correct me, so I'll go with that.
Okay, we'll go with that. Or Alex or Rhoden, as I still call him. I've been with him 2.5 years now. He's had me through 2 shows, 2 full off seasons, and we're just cracking onto our 3rd off season now. We're 20 weeks to the day, actually, post show. Going pretty well. I'm about 103 in the morning at the moment. Good. Still relatively lean. I can still fit in the smallest notch on my weightlifting belt, which is really, to be honest, it's really how I judge it in the off season.
Yeah,
I've been on the 6th or 7th one at the end before, and that's not fucking nice. So we'll see how we go this year.
So a couple of questions from that, just for my own interest. What position did you play? What position did you play at football?
Centre mid. So believe it or not, I was also a long distance runner. So I was the guy in the field. I was captain that didn't stop running. Obviously, that's completely different now. If I ever play football, it's a bit of a joke these days. I'm literally the guy that stands in the back and push people off the ball. That's all I can fucking do.
So you were basically like Roberto Carlos before. That was your thing.
Huge, I guess so.
Or huge fucking quads. And also, when you were traveling, whereabouts in Asia?
Mostly Thailand, to be honest. Cool. So I did the entirety of Thailand twice. Nice. I did it with one group of friends, and it turned out another group of friends were coming over. So I thought, I'm free for a couple of months, I'll just do it again. Nice. It's so incredibly cheap out there. I think I I think I lived like a king for about 4 months on $4,000.
Yeah.
Which is it's insane when you think about it. But yeah, I don't think I cooked a meal while I was out there. Eat out 4 times a day.
It's a nice life. I did some traveling, roughly probably about the same age as when you were. This is a while back there. So a good few years back there. And that was around. I spent a year in South Korea teaching, and then after that, I did some traveling around South Korea, Japan, and China, which is pretty sweet. So like 6 months of traveling around, it's pretty cool. But yeah, I should say that the quality of life there is great, and it's cheap as fuck. But there you go. Right. So what we'll do is one last question. How much muscle have you put on with Alex? Because the change has been dramatic. Because you've basically gone from men's to So like a rough estimate.
Probably 15 to 20 kilos.
Fuck.
So
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I go by Dexes now, but I didn't get one towards the start. I think I came to Alex at a pretty chubby 94 kilos.
Yeah.
We dropped all the weight, bulked back up, dropped down for a show, competed in my first show at about 82 on stage. Last year I was 80, 89, but a little bit leaner, a little bit drier. And then obviously now I'm up quite a bit, but I guess we'll sort of see at the end of this off season.
Yeah, awesome. I wanted to just to emphasize that for anyone listening, because we're going to be diving into why your off seasons have been so effective, in your opinion, and I think it's good to sort of frame the fact that Ollie's put on 30 pounds of muscle. We're talking, not anyone can put on 30 pounds, and fucking hell, Ollie, we know guys who put on 30 pounds in like 3 weeks. I'm not naming any names, but this is actual stage weight, so lean tissue, which is insanely impressive. Very, very cool. All right, so we'll start on with the questions. So we've got a range of questions. We've got some serious ones. We've got some fun ones. So we'll try and cover everything. Firstly, this is from a Jake Bennett. I'm assuming he's a friend of yours out in Oss.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah. Okay. So, how does your missus make you feel when she gives you shit about your hamstrings?
Yeah. So this is an interesting one. Basically, when I think it's probably after our 3rd or 4th date. She quite likes muscle, my missus, which obviously helps. She actually prefers me in the off season rather than a lean physique, which once again is probably one of the reasons I've got off seasons, because I haven't got a girl nagging me to get abs back or anything like that.
I find that's true though. I find they do.
Yeah.
Really? The really sick kind of bodybuilder look. Like, all the guys are just thinking, "Man, that's amazing," and then you just get no for women at all.
Yeah. The girls like, "Ooh, what's that fucking vein doing?"
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, yeah.
So yeah, I think we've been on a couple of dates, and I'm ashamed to say I did some posing in front of her.
Damn right.
She was pretty happy from the front. Yep. Really enjoyed the quads, the chest, shoulders in particular. Turned around and she was like, "Oh, where are your hamstrings?" I was like,
harsh.
What?
That's harsh.
It was literally just before I started getting coached by Alex. So one of the first things I said to him was, I mean, my quads are quite good, but are my hamstrings particularly weak? And he was a bit coy and was a bit like, We'll focus on them, and it's just like, okay, so they're shite then.
Well, that's amazing. So your missus has got a real good bodybuilding eye. That's good.
Yeah, she does. She knows what she's talking about.
Love the story. Awesome. Second question from Jake as well. Will you do? And I'm interested in this too. Will you do a massive off season like last time and come in even bigger? And
oh yeah.
What are the sort of the timeline dates? Because I'm taking 2 years off between competitions.
Probably about the same as you, mate, to be honest. So I competed last February this year, so February 2019. I don't expect I'll be on stage again until at least 2021. I guess how the shows go over here in Australia, so the earliest one I could ever consider doing is towards the end of 2020. But I think in order to get ready for that and have a nice slow prep, I'd need to cut off the off season at about a year. And to be honest, I just don't feel like doing that. I'm still a lot leaner than I was last time. I think it's going to be a while until we have to do any mini cuts or anything like that. So, I mean, at this sort of age, you really want to be, I guess, focusing on getting what growth you can, because as you get older, it gets harder. So I'm more than happy to take some extended time off and hopefully come in right at the end of the heavyweight type weight on stage. Obviously leaner than ever, but if I can get to a solid heavyweight for the next show, that's the goal.
Have you got any numbers in mind? Stage weight numbers? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I think anything like 97, 98. So putting on a solid almost 10 kilos on from the last stage.
That's great.
That's the plan.
That's awesome. We'll go into stuff about mini cuts a bit later, because one of the questions is just sort of about what do we do in the off season, but we'll talk about that in a little while. Right then, next question. So this one's from Warren. What about some other characteristics you've developed through bodybuilding?
Right, that is a good question.
It's a deep question.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I'd probably go back to consistency to start off with, because I guess this sort of bodybuilding sort of takes so much. If you can, commit to a big off season, if you can, do a full on prep and get to stage. I don't want to sound cheesy, but there's not a lot of things that you won't be able to do if you put your mind to it. Like you'll see quite a lot of bodybuilders, maybe when they retire, they focus that almost obsession onto something else, like a business. They will succeed. And you see a lot of bodybuilders like that. You look at John Meadows, for example. He's really focused on his YouTube channel recently, all his clients and whatnot, website and other revenue streams, etc., etc. So I guess consistency to something in particular, it's probably something I've developed. I think it's matured me quite a lot as well. Like I said, I only really got serious at 23 or so, and I feel like I've aged maybe 10 years between 23 and 26, to be honest. I'd say I've gone from like the brain of like a 17-year-old at 23 up to, I guess, pretty much where I'm supposed to be. So I'd guess they're the main two, unless there's any you can think of off the top of your head.
Awesome. I like that. I think I like the maturity one that you said, because I kind of go back to that myself when people talk about sport, and I like it to do with winning and losing. I think sport, bodybuilding, and for me it was powerlifting and strongman. It teaches you how to lose. And that's an important skill, because it's not, the importance is not in the loss. The importance is in not being afraid to try. And I think that's really cool.
And how you bounce back as well.
How you bounce back, yeah, totally. It gives you a lot of resilience. And I said to my sister recently, because her kids have just started lifting weights, I said it was probably one of the best things I did was to take up weights, just for my development as a person. I thought it was
of course.
Yeah, right. So next question: what made you switch from men's physique to bodybuilding? I'm interested in this one too. This is from Brooks. What was that about? I mean, obviously you had the big quads, but then you weren't too bothered about hiding them away in the first MP competition. So what was that about?
There'll probably be a couple of reasons there. I guess first and foremost was that I didn't necessarily do bad in men's physique, but I didn't do particularly good either. So I guess during my 3 or 4 men's physique shows, I came maybe top 30 or 40% in the class. So that was still like 15th out of 60 or whatever it was. So really nothing particularly special. So I guess there was that, but also I guess I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I started working with Alex. I wanted to compete again, but do better than I've ever done before. Don't like the feeling of losing. So within a couple of weeks, and I progressed very quickly because I was coming off a bit of a layoff after traveling, and we pretty much said straight away, we're going to move you on to bodybuilding. I was just like, okay, I guess there you go. Third, obviously quads. Obviously didn't fit into those little man's physique shorts anymore. I'll have to try those on one day actually and see how they go.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so I guess they would be the top 3 reasons. And I guess I just wanted to get pretty fucking huge. And that's not men's physique. Maybe in the pro ranks these days the guys are pretty big, but in the amateur it's very much skinny abs surfer dude sort of look.
That was our experience as well. So I coached Mark Frazzavoli. He's been on the podcast as well, and he placed out of the top 5 because we brought in, for his first men's physique show, we brought in a level of conditioning which I was basically comparing to the Jeremy Bundai's of the world and all that kind of stuff. So we really nailed his conditioning. him and another guy got placed out the top 5, and the referees, the judges, sorry, specifically said the reason that some people are going to be out of the top 5 is because they're too muscular, and that was the feedback for him. He was too fucking muscular, and the guys who were in the top 3, they looked like little boys. No, I mean no disrespect to them because that's the look, but they looked like little boys. They had the surfer dude kind of look. It wasn't bodybuilding at all.
And that's so stupid as well, because it's exactly like bikini. So there's a certain look they want for the amateur, and then as soon as they go into the pros, they'll do nothing straight away because they've got to put on 10 pounds or whatever it is of muscle. So if they jump into a pro show straight away, they'll place right at the bottom. Unless they've got a phenomenal shape, they're not going to do that well looking like an amateur. When really, amateurs should be the same as the pros. You want to look like the current Mr Olympia. That's your target. You want to look like the best in the world.
That's a good point. I never really thought about it like that. But yeah, that's a good point, because if you're not basically cut out for it, if you're not basically cut out for it, well, where do you go?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Move on. There's another joke question. We'll move on to this one because I quite like this question. This is from Live Fitness, who's a young lass near my neck of the woods. She said that getting the body is hard enough, but how do you work on confidence in posing?
Oh, that is pretty good. Well, I guess a couple of ways. So I got a posing coach for first and foremost, for men's physique, I'll just say I wasn't confident at all. Was one of those idiots that barely practices posing, was pretty fucking tired on stage.
Me too.
After I came out. And you just don't picture yourself being on there so long. Like, you'll pose what you think is 5 minutes in the mirror, but really you've done, a minute, maybe a minute and a half. So as soon as you've been on stage, you've done all your poses, you're standing at the back of the stage, you've got to stay in front relaxed. You can't see me, but I've put that in inverted commas. So front relaxed is anything but relaxed. I think maybe your midsection is sort of relaxed, but you're sucking it in. Everything else is pretty much flexed. So when you've been on there 10 or 15 minutes, it's hard. Practice your posing early. Get a posing coach. I've never done it online or FaceTime. I've always done it face-to-face. So I've worked with an ex-IFBB pro, Charlie Duca, NABA pro as well. You may or may not know. I think he competed mostly in the 90s and the noughties as well. Always a fantastic poser, had a great shape. Wasn't as big as the Lavronis of the day, but definitely held his own in a couple of shows. And he was really good. I remember we'd do our posing, and then I'd be like, when's he going to do my routine? Like, I thought it would take us forever. But he'd already pictured my entire routine in his head, and he taught it me in about 10 minutes. And I was absolutely amazed. Some people have just got a knack for that sort of thing, and that's definitely not something I had. I'm very flat-footed, very sort of turbocharging around. So I definitely had to become a little bit more, I guess, show a bit more finesse on stage. And to be honest, a short and sweet answer to that question is just practice and get some time on stage. Do a couple of shows. I was amazed at how confident I was in my second bodybuilding show compared to the first. I felt completely comfortable on there, and the audience was about 3 or 4 times bigger than the first one as well. It literally just gets some time on stage. It's probably the best way there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think with in regards to the first competition, like, people don't really sort of realize the first competition is a lot about just getting in and getting your feet wet.
Exactly.
People love to say, I'm not ready for the first competition. Yeah, I don't know if I can compete. And it's like, well, you can go and compete. Like, you look fine. But you're not, don't go out to win the first competition. That's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that doesn't happen for 99% of people. And before you know it, 15 years will have gone by. You've got a family and you'll never compete.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And to be fair, doing a show, obviously, if you've got a good amount of size to start off with, it's the best way to grow. You diet for a show, rebound out of it, have a successful off-season, and straight away you've probably grown more than if you just done a little bulk towards that entire amount of time. it's amazing what the body can do after it's been starved for fucking 20 weeks.
Yeah, and you know, if you're gonna go back on stage the next year or a couple of years after, you've got that in the back of your head. It's like, well, I've got to improve, and I think it stops.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it stops you kind of dicking around with stuff. You know,
100%. Yeah.
which is cool. All right, that's good. I think she's got a good answer there. Now, this is a good question from Cade. I like this. What have you had to change as you've advanced onwards? So as you've gotten bigger, you put on, I think we covered earlier, you put on about 14 kilos of stage weight, which is immense. What things have you had to change moving forward?
I think, so I guess my training program these days, it's a lot more simple, but there's a lot of focus on weak parts. So I guess when I first got started, it was always shitload of volume, everything once a week, blah, blah, blah. I didn't do that much deadlifting. I didn't do that much barbell rows. There were a couple of other exercises I was missing too. At the moment, the bread and butter of my workout routine is deadlifts, rack pulls, 3 different types of rows, like 10 fucking sets of squats every week, incline bench, etc., etc. So it's all the big hitters, and some of those I was missing. So I guess if anything, over time, my training program's actually got simpler, but it's a lot more of the more bang for your buck stuff, which I definitely think is what is putting the weight on me, to be honest.
I think you know, conceptually, that's quite a reasonable stance, because I think when you're a beginner, you, in my opinion, you should stick to a relatively small pool of exercises, just get better at them because you can progress so fast. I think when you're an intermediate, you need to go through a wide variety of exercises and potentially volumes as well, if that's your thing. But I think as you're advanced, you kind of know what works for you, and your pool of exercises becomes smaller. And I'm the same. I don't have a great deal of variation. There's some exercises that I just know are going to blow up my chest, and I'll do those. Same with the back. That makes a lot of sense. Was there anything sort of diet-wise that you've changed?
I guess almost simple again. I know what foods my body can handle. I know if I want to eat 600 grams of carbs every single day, I know what I need to eat and what I need to avoid. So, for example, I can eat rice, pasta, anything bready all day, every day. But if I have more than 1 bowl of oats a day, like nothing else fucking digests that entire day. If my fats go super, super high, if I've had a cheat meal or whatever, the next day it's hard to eat. I know I can eat any meat, egg whites in a small quantity, as much dairy as I want, and I know what carbs work for me as well, which is obviously potatoes, because I'm working with Alex. So
15 pounds.
15 fucking pounds. Yeah. So I genuinely and always have, like, not through Alex's recommendations. Not against him either. Mashed potato is fantastic for me. It's easy.
Yeah,
I can eat it at my desk while I'm working without thinking about it with a fucking spoon.
Yeah.
Like that's what you want. Something, I guess, a meal plan that's simple, easy, you can stick to, don't get bored of, your body digests them easily. And almost you don't have to think about, like, if you can consistently eat the 5 meals that work for you every single day, you're going to make progress as long as your training's there. It's that simple. You can, there's all this sexy stuff going around, but if you can stick to the basics across diet, recovery, and training, like, that is 98% of it. Yeah. You can do all this sexy stuff for the last 2%, but you'll find that all the basics, may take a hit because, I don't know, you've blown up 20 pounds full of water, so you can't do any decent exercises while your lower back feeling like it's on fire.
I'm going to go out on a limb and just make this statement. I've never seen anyone who excessively focuses on the details ever get the majority of things right. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. There's very few people. Well, there's nobody I know who micromanages stuff that doesn't get that then gets the big rocks right as well. I don't know anybody that does that. I just don't. It just doesn't seem to be a thing. But so you either get 2 camps of people. You get people who really focus on the basics and they progress time and time again, or you get people who do a lot of fancy shit. And that it's indicative of their entire personality and approach to bodybuilding.
That's definitely true. If there's anyone out there that is very OCD and would like to prove their progress and prove us wrong, please let us know in
Yeah,
the comment section.
definitely. And we'd like to see some progress over like a year or 2 years or 3 years, not, I did this
1 month.
today. 1 month or even 1 week. Oh, yeah, dropped 4 pounds yesterday. Great, I guess. So, so
No, that is true. It's like when you see these amazing 12-week transformations.
oh, it
Really,
pisses me off.
they've been natty for a year, then they've jumped on everything under the sun and really gone for it. But in 6 months' time, they're going to look the same as that before photo because
Fucking
they can only
happens
do
all
12
the
weeks
time.
at a time. It does,
That
and
happens all
it
the time.
sells. It sells. That's
Yeah.
sadly why it works.
The annoying thing for me is like I saw it was a childhood buddy of mine from I used to go to school with him, and he put up a fat loss thing, and don't get me wrong, like the fat loss transformation was fantastic, but the thing is he's been spiraling up and down for years. So you can pat him on his back for his recent weight drop, but what about when he gained it all back and then lost it again and gained it all back and lost it again about 5 times prior? That doesn't impress me, and I don't want to be mean to go on his page and go, "Well, fuck, dude, like when are we going to see this like come all on and then come off again?" But I just think we've been through this cycle for 5 years. Like, when are you going to learn?
Yeah, you're right. Like a 5-year transformation of 50 pounds of muscle will impress me way more than 3 months of 15 pounds of muscle, for example. I'm not saying that you can actually do that in 3 months, but that long-term consistency, incredible growth really, is way more impressive than some 12-week transformation where the person's going to come off everything and slack off and then look, the same.
Yeah. I got the same thing. I got the same thing. I think it was November. Some guy asked me to coach him, but he really wanted me to just, kind of like tell him it was okay to do his first cycle or something. And I was like, you really shouldn't be doing that. Like or at least understand the risks involved. And he's like, okay, no, I won't do it. Turns out he did, and he just exploded for like 3 months. Loads of fucking videos, and now you never hear a peep from him again. So I'm just like, well, that was fucking pointless.
He'll be back in a year.
He will. Fucking hell. Right, the last one we've kind of covered, but I want to delve into it a little bit more. This one was just simply, it said training style. Now I know we've covered that you like the basics, but can you talk us through progression, and do you do any kind of periodization across the year? I'm kind of more interested in the phases of training that you have across the year.
Yeah, sure. So in off season, for example, I guess we probably have 3 separate phases really. So the first would be more progressive overload. Now that's not every single exercise. It'll be 1 or 2 exercises per body part. It's sort of what we're doing now. Then the rest will be a little bit of volume, maybe some drop sets, but not particularly. The second phase, which could be after, nothing's ever timed with the way I do things with Alex. If something works for 13, 14 weeks, we'll do it. If it stops working after 6 or 7, which isn't very often, we'll move on to the next thing. So the second phase would be more of a volume phase, which would, I guess, as the name suggests, it would be a lot more volume, a lot more shorter rest times, giving the joints a break from the consistent, hammering and trying to get stronger. Other factors would be in and higher at that sort of times. And then I guess the third phase would be more of a back off in a cruise sort of situation. But I guess those back off phases, the actual backing off the actual weight is pretty minimal for me. I don't know if it's because I'm a little bit younger or touch wood, I've been okay so far.
I think it's consistency as well. I think I don't back off a lot, and that's certainly not me being young. So, I think it's consistency and not being mentally burnt out.
Yeah. I think, well, the last time we really did that was before we started the last prep. Alex gave me a month of basically minimal bodybuilding, shitload of vegetables, shitload of fruit, minimal protein, train 3 times a week, do nothing anywhere near to failure. And it was, bodybuilding wise, it was such a boring fucking month. But obviously, life wise, it was great because I did a lot of other things because I was only in the gym 45 minutes 3 times a week, which is crazy thinking about it. But it meant that those first 4 or 5 weeks of prep, I transformed, obviously, as you can imagine, like crazy. Barely lost any weight, but like body comp completely changed.
What are you in that sort of month? What are you focusing on in terms of progression? Is that a thing, or is it just like go in, work the muscle, come out?
During like the phase 2 volume.
Yeah, just curious. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, in the back of my mind, I still try and get a little bit stronger during it.
Yeah.
But not particularly. But I guess it completely goes by progress. Like if I'm putting on weight, not getting fat, there's definitely, muscle going on. There's nothing too much to measure. I guess it's more in the over time sort of thing. Like I know at the moment I can barbell row, 20 or 25 kilos more than I could about a year ago.
That's good.
For example, I don't know when those jumps happened. I could look in my logbook, but the thing is, they've happened at some point gradually over the last year, and that's, I think, the most important thing.
Yeah, I think if you're sticking to the same basic pool of exercises, you've got that.
Yeah,
it's sort of standardized, isn't it? So where you're making progress specifically. I like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've started to do that. Go on.
I was just going to say, I forgot to actually mention, at the moment, although we're in more of a progressive overload phase, I do have like a extra pure volume session, which is extra shoulders and extra arms, just because two things we're trying to bring up, try and get a more 3D dense look. Ready for next time. To be honest, fucking everything is a focus this year.
Well, you can do it with a 2-year off season, right? You can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Obviously back's probably my biggest weakness, so we're focusing on that.
Okay.
Glutes and hammies is probably the next weakness, so we are focusing on those. And then arms and shoulders need to be a little bit bigger to match everything else. Yeah. And then before you know it, the only thing I haven't mentioned is quads, chest, and calves. Calves, I'm training now more than ever. Chest, I'm not doing as much volume, but chest has always been something I can contract insanely easily. I can probably train my chest doing a fucking leg curl or something like that. And then quads, although they are my strongest body part, this year we have just a quad day, which I've never really particularly done before. So although they're not a focus, they're still getting smashed every week. So before you know it turns out I'm focusing on everything.
I seem to remember you used to do a lot of push-pull legs. It's more specialized now, isn't it? I like the idea about the mind-muscle connection on your favorite muscle groups as well. I'll tell you what's interesting. Because my back's a pretty strong body part, lats and traps and all that kind of stuff. When I was a kid and I would sit in class, I could actually I didn't even know what the muscles they were, but I could actually tense my back and kind of lift myself off the chair a little bit. I remember doing that. It never really clicked, but it's weird. I thought back years later, actually, maybe that's something to do with back development. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it is either genetic or how you're actually built. Bone lengths and lever lengths and all that sort of crap. Obviously, it'd be pretty hard to test exactly how you are unless you're working one-on-one with a specialist every single day doing every single workout. But I'm obviously designed to build chest and quads very easily, and then stuff like back and glutes, for example, are a weakness.
All right, awesome. So we've gone through all the questions, at least all the serious ones. We've got a couple of fun questions here, so we'll go through those. How many years till we both walk sideways through doors? That's from Jake Bennett.
Depends on the door, I guess, is the real answer there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hopefully not too long. If I focus on lats and side delts, I'll brush through doors pretty easily.
And the next one was, would you rather fish or fish in a rice cake?
Yeah. I don't know if you remember this actually. Do you remember the video which was?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, the meme.
I think was he a Scouse guy or he was
Yorkshire
English. Somewhere.
Yorkshire.
Yeah, English and Northern. And obviously meal 1 was fish, meal 2 was fish and a rice cake, blah blah blah.
Just alternate, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what he said. Yeah.
I saw an article about him recently.
He's got a lot bigger.
Yeah, he's got a lot bigger.
Yeah. I don't know if he's changed it, but fuck me, apparently fish and a rice cake, the most bland diet of all time, works.
Yeah. Imagine that for motivation. If you're that meme guy, you've got to get bigger now. Show everyone.
Yeah, Christ, fair dues. That could have done a nut job on his mental health. But,
can you imagine that was his life's work, proving the fact that this works,
Yeah. Imagine how many rice cakes you'd have to eat in order to grow properly.
It'll be a birthday present for the next 10 years.
Yeah, Jesus. I can't stand him. So to answer the question, I think I'd have Just fish. To be honest.
Just the fish. Right, so we've gone through all the questions. Now, if you've got time, what I wanted to do was run through the Olympia lineup and see what you think. If you got time to do that, should we do that another time?
Yeah, 100%. I'm free for that.
Awesome. Right, so let's talk about the big topic. Start with the big man, Shaun Rhoden.
Yeah, Christ.
Holy shit, what a situation.
That's given us a bit of material, hasn't it? Last couple of days.
Fuck. So, I mean,
right.
You know, fuck. Where do we even start with this?
I literally don't know, because there's an argument for both sides of the story. So he's been banned, I believe, from competing at the Olympia.
Yeah, that's forever, not just for this year.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's a very good argument that in the eyes of the law, you are guilty until proven. No, you're innocent. Fucking hell, I got that wrong. You're innocent until proven guilty.
Yep.
So I can 100% get that is wrong, and he'll have a contract that he signed, and I'm sure if he's proved innocent, which I don't think he will be, that there'll be some heavy repercussions. Because imagine if he has the trial next week.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to fuck his prep up anyway. Even if he's innocent in 2 weeks, he won't do the show. This sort of emotional turmoil that he's going through right now, you can't compete under those conditions. You shouldn't anyway. So even if he's proved innocent in a couple of weeks, like, there's got to be some repercussions for them banning him, and I guess almost making him look more guilty than he is. But then again, if you look at the facts, it was 4 or 5 days after the Olympia. This woman came to his hotel room. He's married with a daughter. I think she's married too.
Yeah, she is.
Supposedly he was going to help her with some posing or some mentoring or something like that. Like, whatever way you look at it, there's proof that they've had sex. Apparently there's some proof of rape in some way. I don't know how you actually completely prove that, but
I think they do an examination of the lady's parts, and I think there's evidence of it potentially. I don't know quite how to phrase it, because this is not
being rough.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Force is probably
that's right. Yeah. I'd say we go with that. I think that's what they found, and they've also found some of his the DNA sperm basically on inside her. So that is pretty damning.
Yeah, 100%. I guess you could argue why she waited 9 or 10 months. It's one of those topics that you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because
it's a tough one.
Because obviously, I guess getting off topic a little bit, there's a lot of this going on where the guy's guilty and nothing ever gets done about it. So you can't make it harder for women to come forward about being raped, otherwise we'll have a fucking epidemic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we all know, I think most guys know a friend of a friend or someone who has been accused and wrongly accused, and they always get done for it if it doesn't come out. Like, that literally happened to a friend of mine.
Shit.
He actually went to prison for 2 years. And the only way he got out was this girl admitted to one of her friends on Facebook that she made it up. She just didn't want to admit that she cheated. But that's a complete anomaly. So it is one of those situations where it is so shit. No matter what we say, it is right and wrong. Yeah, I think. What do you think?
I think just to clarify for people listening, like, we're not suggesting that's the case here. I mean, it's a shit situation no matter what happens. It's for both parties. It's a shit situation. I don't know about the rape stuff. I don't know. Like, I think it's just a wait and see. I mean, right now it is what it is. I think it's a financial thing basically, because if there's any chance of him being guilty, and there is, fairly high chance of him being guilty, there's no way they're going to have a Mr. Olympia who's a rapist. It's just not going to happen. So they're completely banned him. From a sort of if we just sort of move that off to the side for a second, looking at his condition, let's assume this didn't happen. Could he have retained the title?
Yes.
You think so? Yeah.
I believe he could have. I think Curry is a couple of years from winning it. I don't think Bonac will get any better, particularly unless there's a bit of a miracle. He's missed the mark a little bit last couple of shows. Yeah, I think if they gave it to him last year over Roelly, he would win it again this year. Basically. So yeah, I think the best that can happen to him right now is that he's proven innocent and he competes again next year, 2020.
Yeah.
But I really don't see that happening, if I'm honest. If
yeah, I agree.
unless yeah.
Go on. I was going to say I agree. I think it was a fairly fair Olympia last year. I don't think there's anything like, people could be too mad about. I thought genuinely Rhoden was the better man on the day.
Yeah, I remember watching it live, the live stream, watching him come out, and I was like, fucking hell, he looks quite good. He could get top 5. And that was just on his front relaxed. Yeah. And as soon as he started posing, I was like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Because his back's look better than it ever has. And that, besides his fucking miniature triceps, is like the only weakness he really ever had. But if you look at the back shots of him and Phil, he's not that far behind, and then he beat him in every front shot. And arguably some of the side shots. So
it was for me the best shot of his was the ab and thigh. I thought that ab and thigh was so crisp, and then he's got he's got the huge lats, he's got the pecs which just hang. I thought he was tremendous in that. And Phil, he looks like an amateur. Well, not going to say that, but Phil looked awful next to him, like in the ab and thigh.
Yeah. I think, has he had the 2 surgeries since then?
I
believe
he has, but then it's debatable whether that was even the problem.
That is true. But I guess because of these last couple of Olympias, we kind of forget how good Phil was. Like Phil in his prime, like what Ronnie could beat him. I think that's it.
I think 2009 Jay would beat him.
That is my favorite look of all time.
You know why? You know why? Because it's not just the look in isolation. You put Jay next to anyone in 2009, and he makes him look like a child.
I remember.
You remember that? You know, there was one. I think it was 2009, 2010. He was standing, and there was Phil next to him and Kai on the other side. And obviously they've grown since then, but he just looked ridiculous. They looked like kids next to him.
Yeah, and then obviously Dexter was next to him, and he literally made Dexter look like a men's physique competitor.
He did. And you know what? Dexter looked good in 2009 as well.
He really did. Does he ever not look good?
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to retain the title.
Literally, by the time I'm old enough to be almost as good as Dexter, I'll be too old. So I'll be fucking 45. Need to slow it down. He'll be 85.
Still going.
So much fucking better.
I saw a meme this morning. It was like, here's a picture of some of the first bodybuilders ever. And it was Eugene Sandoe, in black and white in the 20s. And it was Dexter Jackson next to him.
Oh my God, that is
just
good.
his big cheesy smile on his face. It's great. So let's go on to the next one. So we've covered Shaun. I think we're both in agreement. Great physique, but odds are he's probably not going to do it this year. So what are let's look at the 2 front runners who I think are the front runners. Brandon Curry, first of all.
Yeah.
What are his chances?
Completely depends how his quads hold up. 11 weeks out, I would have told you he could have won it. At the picture I saw today, at 8 weeks out, his quads have downsized ever so much. And that's the one body part he can't lose. He looks so good. He is exactly what I would want Mr. Olympia to look like, with a little bit more quads. Are you talking
about the picture on that Facebook group, Bodybuilding by Bodybuilding?
Yeah. It was either a front double or...
I'm looking at a front relaxed.
Oh yeah, it could have been either way. Like everything looks brilliant, but I'm not saying his quads look small, but they look slightly downsized from the picture 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and if that's happening at 8 weeks out, what will happen towards the end? Is I guess my question. But he is exactly who I would want to win it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's got a great shape. I'm looking at this picture now while we're speaking. There's not much to say that's wrong. I can see what you're saying about the quads. They have been bigger.
That's me being incredibly picky. By the way, for the quads, I'm not.
But then you have listening.
I'm not saying he's got 25-inch quads or anything like that. He's still pretty much the best in the world.
Yeah.
But if we had to go for something, that's what it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his midsection 9 weeks out. He looks incredible. And his delts are crazy.
Scary, eh? It's amazing just to think like he had all that potential and he was there coming in fucking 16th place every show. And I don't know if he was just lazy or what it was, but something has changed. I'm not saying it's necessarily bloody camel crew or they've got any secrets or anything like that.
No.
I think it is just consistency because all you can do in Q8 is train, eat, recover, sleep, repeat.
That's what I think it is. I think every really good coach that I've had, the ones that I've really appreciated, a lot of what they've done is they've shown me what's possible, like what I can do. And I think perhaps there's nothing special about them per se, but they've pushed him to the point where he's like, no, I can actually do this. I can take it to the next level and I can still cope and be a normal, almost regular person. I think that's probably a large part of it. I think they've really pushed him out there with everything.
Definitely. And he's got the best team around him. He's got a good coach. Yeah. He's probably posing fucking 2 hours every day because he's got nothing else to do out there other than, I guess, sweat in the heat.
Yeah. Because his wife's not even with him. His wife's
Yeah, whatever works, I guess.
Imagine being on that much fucking test and your wife not being there. Fuck that.
Yeah. I wonder if they have like masseuses. I don't know what the laws are on that sort of stuff in Kuwait, but I'm sure they'll have some form of relief system.
Yeah, I think if you've got the money for it, I think you're okay. So I reckon
they'll have a bunch of milking women or something like that.
Yeah, milking women. Right. So we've got him, I reckon, as our front runner. I think we'd both agree.
Yeah.
The other one that I'm going to stick in now is a bit of a question mark on whether he can do anything this year is Dexter. Dexter's coming in very, very confident. He says it's the best shape he's been in. I've seen his pictures. He is fucking big. Did you see that interview on Jay Cutler's channel? He looked good.
Yeah, no, he really does.
Yeah.
I'm not sure because he's regressed ever so slightly in the last 2 years. So I saw it in person. Not last Arnold Australia, but the year before. Obviously, got like 7th at the Olympia, which was it was a shock, but it would have been a shock to him. Obviously, he hasn't finished out the top 5 for like 10, 15 years, or whatever it was beforehand.
It's a shock, yeah.
So I think he is ever so slightly downsized, and the waist has got ever so slightly bigger. The waist is still fantastic, but that being fucking 24 inches or whatever the fuck it was, obviously not 24, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was almost his trademark. Yeah. So with certain things getting smaller and that getting bigger, that will completely throw him off, I think, because he's obviously not the biggest dude, but he looks pretty perfect. You put it out there, like who would you want to look like walking down the street? You can't get much better than what he looks like.
Yeah, he looks fantastic. I kind of had the same feeling. I like him. I think he's still doing amazingly well, and I think he probably will be in the top 6. But he has ever so slightly regressed, and I don't think that's really the calling card for Olympia. The Olympia needs to be on the up and up for the most part.
Yeah.
You look at
go on. Sorry.
I was just saying, you look at every Olympia win, and they're on the up and up. Even Jay, when he came back, he blew his condition out of the water when he was competing against Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. But I guess the one thing you could say is Dexter did start to regress 06, 07.
Yeah.
And then 08 he won it. And then he kind of got, although he didn't win again, he almost kind of got better and better for a couple more years. So he was about, I guess, 40 then.
He has put on muscle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but perhaps that extra 10 years, will play against him. But, he's the best bodybuilder, really, most successful. Show-wise and everything else. He won like 50 pro shows or something disgusting.
It's going to be 50 this year. I think that's what it is. If he wins the Olympia, if he wins his qualifier and the Olympia, it'll be 50 this year. Which is insane.
That's disgraceful. Disgracefully good. I mean, disgracefully good. What do you even say to that?
One thing I think he has got in his favour is he's back with Charles Glass. And okay. I quite like to watch training videos. And if you looked at some of his training videos when he was with that other guy, the Psycho Fitness,
Yeah.
He was always complaining that he would try to make him lift too heavy, and Dexter was like, "I'm not trying to get injured out here. I'm not trying to get injured out here."
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
with Psycho Fitness, he reminds me of the phrase, "If the only tool you've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail." That's kind of, it reminds me of that. It's like, just lift heavy, Dexter.
Yeah.
It's like, I ain't trying to lift heavy. Like, I'm 50 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 6 weeks out. That's not going to happen. So I think
Yeah.
Charles is a bit more, first he's more hands-on. He makes the reps glide a little more, which is safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Charles is probably better for him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a very good chance that he could come back better than ever. And if he does, then, yeah, there's definitely no question he could take it. I think that this Olympia will actually be pretty interesting. I think it would have been more interesting with Rhoden still in it, but it is as wide open as it could ever be this year. And hopefully that'll sell a few more tickets.
I think so. I'm more interested in it this year. Here's a really quick question. This could even be just a yes or a no. I'm going to say no. Do you think Phil's in it this year?
No. And the reason for that, if you'd asked me 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, I would have said 100% yes, because I saw how fucking good he was looking at that time.
Yeah.
He's in the middle, 8 weeks out of doing a tour of the UK, and it's not 2 or 3 dates. It's like fucking 12.
He's in Stoke-on-Trent, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. He's just done one in Stoke. He's literally going to be all over the place.
You just go there and get depression. It's just...
Yeah. I've been there a few times. A mate of mine, Josh, used to live there, and we'd go to obviously that gym there, Strength, which is obviously phenomenal. And then we go to a fucking cheap all-you-can-eat Chinese afterwards. And I just remember the entire place, other than that gym, being so incredibly depressing.
Such a shit city. You go to the city centre, there's literally nothing there. It's just decrepit buildings. It's like, what?
Oh, no, Christ.
Yeah, it's amazing. You've got that, and I got Wetherspoons.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I guess he'll finish his tour at 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
I don't think he's doing it this year, which is a shame, because I really believe, and I've said like a lot of times publicly, that I think he'd do it this year. But as soon as I saw that tour was booked, I was like, no way. Yeah. Not for your redemption year. You need to have everything in place. He's not traveling and doing what he needs to do. To be honest,
I think he's kicking himself a little bit though, because he wouldn't have known about the Rhoden situation, and he's
I know.
over there. And he's like, "Fuck, man! I could do this. I could do with the $400,000, whatever it is. But I'm stuck in fucking Stoke-on-Trent."
Let's hope they let him out. He might get mugged.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell. So what about the other one? Who's the other sort of question mark is Kai Greene. He let out a pretty strong hint that he was going to compete, but thing is, Kai is a bit of he likes to do this, doesn't he? So
yeah, he does it every year. I won't believe it until I see it. I think he's got an open invitation, but I think he's had one every year. I think he's allowed until 3 days out to say he's doing it, but I think he's had that every year. He does look phenomenal, but he always looks phenomenal.
I was going to say, he looks huge.
Like, I mean, I love bodybuilding, but I don't think you'd stay that lean year round and not want to compete. But he's done it for 3 years, so I really don't understand.
Yeah, he looks huge and he looks lean. He looks like he could be Mr. O. It's amazing.
Yeah,
so I don't get this not competing.
Yeah, I guess maybe he's downsized a little bit. He doesn't look like he has, but you never see him standing next to anyone. So maybe he has a little bit, but I think if he wanted to give it a good crack, there is nothing really stopping him winning it. So yeah, who knows? He'd make enough money from it, but I think he's making enough money doing what he's doing. So yeah, I really don't know.
All right, so I'm gonna lump these next few together because I think they're kind of connected. DeAsha, Sandoe, and Juan Morel. The reason I'm putting Juan Morel in there is because he's had a back and forth with DeAsha at the New York Pro for the past couple of years. I think Morel. I want to say Morel beat him last year. Is that right? And DeAsha got it this year. that right?
No, Nathan beat him last year.
Nathan last year.
I don't think Nathan did it this year. Actually,
Right.
Morel did win it, but Nathan didn't do it this year. His first show was that English Grand Prix.
Right. Yeah. I just remember seeing some older pictures where Morel completely outsized him, and some recent pictures
Really?
where, yeah, completely
Oh.
outsized him. Because Morel's been around for ages. And
Yeah.
DeAsha's still, well, I mean, DeAsha's got a great record. He's pretty much, I would say, on paper, the best pro in the UK right now. But I think,
100%.
yeah, definitely. But I think in the latest show, he certainly showed him up. That may have been footage from last year, actually. But he had just the same size as Morel, and he just outclassed him in terms of his conditioning, which is hard to do.
Oh yeah, and yeah, no, that's true. But Morel's got shite legs.
Yeah, he does.
And once again, I use shite in
Relative
quote
terms.
unquote, yeah, relative terms. They are fantastic.
Yeah.
But if you compare them to the top 10 at the Olympia, he would be in 10th place, 4 legs, which is why I say shite. So regarding those guys, like I like Nathan and I like Sandoe. I don't think anyone other than English get Nathan's sense of humor. It's like Americans hate him. Like,
yeah, they do.
The guy's joking.
He's
Like,
taking a piss.
I mean, I've met him. He's the most down to earth, nice guy in person. He's just playing about a little bit on social media just to maybe make prep a bit easier for him, keep it interesting.
I don't think Americans get sometimes that, when we play around, there's quite a lot of bite to it. And that's all it is. But we, unless someone's actually throwing a punch at you, it's just
exactly.
There's a lot of people actually have. It's just the way we joke around.
They're literally just joking. So I mean, I do really like Nathan. I think he's got all the potential in the world. I'm not sure how or what he needs to do to improve. To be honest, if you can get a little bit more size with the exact same, mint conditioning and keep that tiny fucking waist, then I actually, a year or so ago, I would have said he could be a Mr. O. But
go on.
I was just going to say, comparing him to Sandoe. So I really like Luke. Fantastic personality. One of the most interesting real bodybuilders there is at the moment. You can actually watch him talk. He's not fucking boring. He isn't telling you about his shitty chicken and rice meal he's going to eat in 2 hours. He's funny and he's interesting, and he talks about anal. He's funny.
Anal and Tinder, right?
Yeah, anal and Tinder. Yeah, exactly. With no selfies. But I think Alex made a very good point. So he looks great. In pro shows, he has nailed it 1 out of 8.
Yeah.
He nailed the Arnold Classic, came in 3rd, could have placed a little bit higher. Literally, I remember seeing those photos and being like, fucking yes, he's finally nailed it. That is great. 2 weeks later, didn't look as good in Australia. And then 2 weeks again, looked a little bit softer at Indy, where I think he got 3rd, 5th and 6th or something like that. Maybe it's a case of the longer he competes, the worse he gets. So he can't hold that condition, something like that. And at the Olympia, he doesn't need to do that. 1 show, give it your all. He looks great right now at 8 weeks out. So who knows? But at the moment, Nathan's definitely the better of the two. It would be great to see those two battle each other. And I don't like Juan Morel, to be honest, as a person.
He's had some history, hasn't he?
Yeah. So I dislike him just for that. I know I shouldn't, but scumbag. If you listen to this one, you're a scumbag.
Yeah. if you're one of the 150 people that listen to this, and I'm exaggerating there as well, you know what I mean? But the problem I've got with that whole trio, so DeAsha, Sandoe and Morel, is how much more size can they realistically put on? When I look at someone like Brandon, he's been progressing rapidly and he's been putting muscle on seemingly to no limit. I'm not sure how much more I can see on. I can maybe see some more on DeAsha's frame, but I'm honestly not sure how much more I can see on Sandoe's frame, particularly in the chest. I don't know. I don't know if it's there.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess the only thing I'd say on Luke's behalf is he literally started training about 8 years ago. It's
really
disgusting. Yeah, he started training when he quit a band at like 22. He's now 30.
Fuck, I didn't
so
know
his
that.
level is so his level of progression has been insane. So maybe it is just a muscle maturity thing with him. Maybe he'll put on 3 more pounds of muscle his entire career, but
Yeah.
the way the look of the muscle changes
Because
over some time.
He's not grainy, is he? They had that conversation with
Yeah,
Abiad,
you're right.
and I'm surprised at that because the way he trains basically like he's like a, I don't want to say mini Dorian, but he's like another Dorian.
Yeah, exactly. He's strong as hell. You know, you
Shit,
can
yeah.
incline bench 180 or 200 for like 6-7 reps. He deadlifts a shitload. He can squat a shitload. He barbell rows 220 for fun with brilliant form. Like you can't fault the way he's training.
Yeah.
I think it might just be a case of time with him. He is getting better year on year.
That's good to know.
That condition.
That's good to know. Actually, I didn't know that he's only started training relatively recently. And I'd say to anyone listening, 9 years is not a great amount of time to get up to the top.
Yeah, no.
Okay, that sounds good. I like that. I think with those three, we're talking about middle. I want to say middle-ish pack. You know, maybe touching the top 6.
Yeah, exactly. Then if any one of them absolutely nails it, they can jump right up. So there's the potential there. It's just it'll sound stupid, but like you literally never know until we get there. Good to speculate about. And then we've missed out Bonac. So what do you think of him?
I want to go back to Bonac and also Ramy as well. Bonac, I'm going to say this about him. I don't think there's anything there. I don't think there's anything left. I think he looks like a mini Coleman. If you look at his muscle bellies, his glutes, his arms, his conditioning. But the difference between him and Coleman is he's narrow. And I think he's narrow and he's slightly blocky. And while he's a great personality, I think he's a great bodybuilder because some of his poses he strikes are amazing. I don't think there's anything left there. I think between him and Curry's got more mileage.
Yeah, I'd agree. Like there's no more muscle Bonac can put on and look good. So with him, it's a case of nailing that conditioning, peaking correctly, and I wouldn't say his waist is bad, but it could potentially be better. I'm not saying he has to do 1 billion vacuums every single day, but I just see that being the one area that he actually could improve if it is possible.
I'm saying if you put him next to Rhoden or you put him next to Curry, he is going to look blocky.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Because his height doesn't help him either. So.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're completely right. I think he came. What's the best he's done? Did he come second one year?
Yeah, he might have done.
Yeah, second or third. I mean, well, he's won the Arnold. He's won the Arnold Australia.
Yeah.
I think he's come second or third at the Olympia. I think that kind of is the best he will do. If Curry fucks it, he could beat Curry and maybe win this year. But he had slightly regressed this year. And I saw it in person at the Arnold Australia when Curry did beat him. And Curry definitely beat him. I think there was 10 points in it. And the photos, for some reason, made it look a lot more equal than it was. But in person, I was pretty close to the front. Everyone knew Curry was winning it when he did.
I'm looking at his front clasp pose. And in that position, he can hide his weaknesses and he looks incredible.
Yeah, 100%.
Just phenomenal. But you put him in the front lat spread and that goes to shit. To be honest, he even looks happier hitting the clasp and he looks miserable hitting
It's because he knows.
He fucking knows it. All right. So the other one that I wanted to talk about was Big Ramy. My opinion on Ramy is I think he's one of the biggest disappointments. And that sounds harsh, but it's one of the biggest disappointments in the last 5 years, personally.
Yeah. I mean, like when he first came about, he was almost like a phenom. He was like the equivalent of The Undertaker. When he first came to WWF back in the day. Like here's a guy that he'd literally been training fucking 3 years when he turned pro. I heard a funny story about him where he first went to, I think it was Oxygen Gym or somewhere similar first, or whatever gym he first went to. Complete beginner, bought a program for 6 months, went off, then went back to that same trainer for his next 6 months, and he put on that much muscle. The guy did not believe that it was the same person.
Yeah, that's amazing. To have those genetics, fucking hell.
Yeah, exactly. With him, I think it's good that he's away from Oxygen because they really pushed him on the size. They wanted him to be the biggest bodybuilder. I think he looked best maybe with a Ceto in like 15, something like that. when he was, completely shredded. But like, even if you look at last Olympia, day one, full as hell, watery, didn't look that conditioned. Must have taken like 10 diuretics overnight or something like that, and looked phenomenally better and dragged himself back up, but still got, just about sixth. So it's one of those, like, it is sort of there. He's not, pretty to look at, but when he's in shape but full as a fucking house, he makes everyone look small. And those quads, like,
They're
Jesus.
phenomenal.
Like,
I've got a picture
I'd be
of him
keen
here.
to see it. I'd be keen to see a tape measure around them.
Yeah, I've got a
To be
picture
honest.
here compared to Phil in the 2015 Olympia, and obviously it's just one pose, and a front double is
Yeah.
not. His front double is not Phil's pose. Like, no one's going to say it's
Yeah.
Phil. But Ramy's waist looked tight as hell.
Yeah.
Lats looked
No,
enormous.
that's exactly it.
Quads looked huge. He looked phenomenal in 2015.
Yeah, it's just condition with him. I guess over the years he's become such a better poser than he first was. He looks like he really enjoys himself on stage, and he's kind of a fan favorite because everyone from the Middle East obviously fucking loves him, which is understandable.
Plus, he's just so happy all the time. That's what I like about him.
Yeah, he's such a nice dude.
He's kind of like,
it seems.
if you watch Strongman, he's kind of like Zydrunas. And if you ever ask Zydrunas, like if you see an interview, and the first thing he starts off with saying is, "I'm very happy," and that's like, he's the biggest, cutest 400-pound man I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So I don't think Ramy is doing it this year. He got injured in the year, and I don't think he's in a qualifier. And I think because he came sixth or so, he doesn't auto qualify. I think that's right.
He
I
has.
don't think we'll see him this year.
If he's going to do it, he has to win the show that Dexter's going to do, which I think is the Tampa.
Yeah.
The next show Dexter's doing, he needs to win it.
Yeah, we've seen nothing from his corner. I don't think this year, in particular. No. I think was it a leg injury, or I don't know. I don't remember.
It was definitely the shoulder. It may have been something.
Oh, was it shoulder? Was it? Okay.
Yeah. It may have been another. It may have been a leg as well, but it was definitely a shoulder. Yeah.
That's a shame because he could have still been fine because he probably could not train his quads for a year and they'll still be bigger than everyone else's. So he could have injured both quads and still won.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one who I think is doing really well at the moment, and I can see him as Olympia. It's Steve Kuclo.
Really? Okay.
I just think the improvements that he made recently, and the structure he's got structure. He's fucking huge.
Yeah. So he won a show, didn't he, this year?
Yeah.
I forget which one it was in the end.
Was it the Indie Pro?
Oh yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
I think he won it the year before as well.
Indie Pro, that's it. Yeah.
All right, there you go. And he came 10th-ish, I believe, last year. Yeah, he looks great. I guess he's just a tall dude, so I always sort of favour the small guys just because I'm small, no other reason. Yeah, I think he's you're right. He's definitely improved. But I guess the guy still works like completely full time, doesn't he? Same as Cedric. So I don't know if that's slowing him down a little bit or what. It'd be good to see how he does this year. If he's made improvements in the last Olympia or his last show in, then he could be a dark horse. He could be right there. I mean, he's beaten most of those guys, other than like the top 6, maybe top 7, top 8.
I'm seeing a comparison of him next to Luke Sandoe in the Indie Pro this year.
Oh yeah, he definitely beat Luke there. 100%.
Outsized him. I mean, his waist was a little more blown out, but it was still pretty tight. But he definitely outsized him. And Luke's not small. Yeah,
no, I mean Luke is my height, and he's fucking huge. And his weight is very high. Like he's like 305 pounds in the off season, and decent nick.
Yeah,
to be fair.
I mean, he in the pose that he did, the quote unquote disrespectful pose with DeAsha, he looked way bigger than him, way bigger.
Yeah. He's definitely sort of a dark horse, I think, because he's done one show, beating a decent group of people. To be fair, at the Indie, just looking at it now. I guess it just depends what you can put together Olympia time.
Yeah, I like that. I think there's one more that I'm going to throw in there just because we've had some news about him over the last day. In fact, you messaged me that picture this morning. Hadi Choopan. He's been
Oh
compared.
yeah,
He's been compared to as the new Dorian Yates. He just comes in, destroys everyone, doesn't really speak a word
yeah,
of English. Well, I mean,
yeah.
obviously Dorian does, but no one can understand what he fucking says. But he looks phenomenal. Yeah,
Yeah, right. You know what? I called that wrong. Luckily I didn't say it out loud, but I thought him moving into the open, because I'd only seen most muscular poses of him recently, I just thought, maybe he's hiding his waist. Maybe his waist got worse. Maybe he's hiding it. But as soon as I saw it was either a front relax or a front double, something like that, I was like, fucking hell.
have you seen
His
his lat
waist is
spread
better.
as well?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Okay, his lats have got bigger and his waist has got a little bit smaller,
Yeah.
which is what makes that pose even better.
Yeah.
And the fact that he literally is so conditioned.
Yeah.
He made the other guys look fat, and none of them were fat. Nathan was in shape pretty much.
Yeah.
Ian is always in shape. And the other
Ian's
guy in the top three was Lucas, and I'm pretty sure he was in shape too. He's the guy that can do that amazing stuff with his glutes. No homo. He can
That's
can
what I'm
twitch,
looking at right now, no homo.
yeah, he can literally twitch every single muscle fiber in his glutes. And I saw that live actually on Australia, and it was literally phenomenal. Like the crowd, it was the loudest I've ever heard a crowd during his routine. It was just something you don't ever see.
What I'm looking at with his back now is two things that really stand out. One is the thickness of the lower lats near the erectors.
Yeah,
I often find with people who are thick there, that's a completely different thickness. Like he must lift heavy as fuck because that's unreal. And then also the fact you can see his quads from the back clearly.
Yeah, that's is it what the sweep just going all the way over?
It's just a sweep just being huge. So his rear lat spread looks even more aesthetic than it should do because his quads from the front are just adding to it. It's just phenomenal.
He was literally insane. As soon as you saw a photo of him next to the others, like you knew he was going to win. In any other pose other than that most muscular, just because he always wins that most muscular. But yeah, I mean, he won't be in the Olympia. He won't get a visa. If Iranian doctors can't get visas to the US, they're not going to give one to a bodybuilder. I'm sorry. It's a fucking shame. Again,
it's a shame because you know what? I think he's better than Flex Lewis as well. I'll say that out now.
Yeah, I mean, last couple of showings definitely. I think Flex has beaten him in one show, but Flex at his peak. That'll be interesting to see him come back next year.
Yeah, I've not heard much from him. I mean, to be fair, I don't follow him, but no one's really talked about him that much. I imagine he was out there grinding and putting on some good size.
Yeah, he'll be in his gym with Neil Hill, and I think he's training with John De La Rosa as well. He'll just be putting it in. You know he will. It's what he does. I think we'll see something pretty good coming from him. I don't think he'll be good enough to compete for an Olympia title or anything like that, but I think we'll sort of see a new dimension to his physique. He's got a physique that's wanted to grow these last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
he's had to kill himself to get to 212 and eat like a girl year round. His words. So yeah, I think a little bit of a calorie surplus, and he just as he wants to just fucking blow up. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on stage at getting on for 230 maybe.
Yeah. I'm just looking at him now. He looks absolutely incredible. There's not much that you could pick out as being a weakness. I don't think he's got a weakness.
Yeah, that's why he's been untouched in the 212 for 7 years, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Crazy.
I think that's about. Is there anyone else you'd want to mention?
I'll throw one in because I'm living in Australia at the moment. Big Josh.
Yeah.
Luckily, he won't listen to this, so I'll give it a go at pronouncing his last name. Josh Lenartowicz.
Lenartowicz.
I'll try. No, he is the nicest dude in the world. He's potentially the nicest bodybuilder I have ever met. literally is at the Arnold Australia from start to finish all 3 days, unless he competes that year, obviously. And he speaks to fucking everybody, and he's the nicest dude. Got it wrong a couple of shows this year, then did pretty well on the one he did. Just wasn't quite conditioned enough, but he was bigger. Only issue he had with his physique was bringing up his arms. He's done that. Him in mint condition could be top 5. I'll 100% happily say that. He has got the structure, the ability to put on mass that a Mr. Olympia should have. He just needs to bring that condition. And he's even said himself that the reason he can't is it's a food thing. With him, he loves to eat. And as soon as he starts, deflating, he refeeds himself back up. But he's working with that, I think it's Patrick Tor, or whatever his name is now, who is renowned for getting people in shape at that sort of level that haven't before. So if he brings him in, I think he could shock a few people, to be honest, this year. If it's a big if, but if he can bring in that condition with that size, his one weakness gone. Yeah, he's the great white hope.
I like what you said about the ability to put on muscle. I think that's really important. It's kind of what I was hinting at with, but you said it better. It's kind of what I was hinting at with Sandoe and the others. Whereas Josh, it doesn't look like he's really going to stop at any time. And I think if he can put on enough mass to hide his weaknesses, because of the sheer size of him next to other people, kind of like Jay again, he'll just make him look small.
Yeah. Well, he's a natural Mr. Olympia, I think, Josh. He's won plenty of natural titles, didn't touch anything until he was a little bit older. And he's still only 34 now, which is young for people competing in the Mr. Olympia. You got a couple at 30, don't really ever get anyone in their 20s, not really, not in the open. And then everyone else is late 30s and 40. So he's 34. Like, that's 8 years he could do, which is pretty amazing considering how he's looking at the moment.
There's one more that I think we should cover. I think we've maybe forgotten about him because it's probably the hallmark of his career. People forget about him. Roelly.
Oh shit! Yeah. It's
funny, isn't it? Funny, isn't it? Because people do sort of forget. I thought personally, I'll say he looked phenomenal last year.
I would have been just as happy if he'd won it last year, to be honest. That is a lifetime best for him. He looks so good, made everyone else look fat. And he, as good as he was that first day of the show, he improved so much towards the second day as well. I think he could have easily beaten Phil happily. I don't think you could have been too angry if he'd beaten Phil.
So here's a question: Why did he lose out last year? What's Rhoden got that Roelly doesn't? I'm basing this on last year, his best condition. He looked really fucking good.
Yeah,
you could argue maybe there was a lack of definition in the sides, but his waist was tight. I don't see what he was missing there. Personally, I think he looked more awesome.
Yeah, honestly, if he'd won last year, I'd have been perfectly happy with it. I remember, because obviously for years he just didn't get in the condition he needed. And he slowly got better. Then I remember at the Arnold Australia 2018, which once again I saw in person, he first came out in these fucking yellow trunks, and straight away everyone in the crowd knew he'd won. And when his name got announced, it was the loudest cheer you've ever fucking heard. He's just so likable.
He is, yeah.
A nice dude, just loves it, like smokes weed all the time. He's the most chilled person. Yeah, it's literally, apparently it's all he does, like backstage. He just tries it's him and, him, William Bonac and a couple of others literally just smoke backstage.
Can you imagine what that smells like on stage? Weed mixed with tan, sweat. Oil.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. It's probably why he's so relaxed and happy on stage.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So yeah,
That's
think
great.
I'd love
to see him win it.
if he came in 5% better than last year, I don't think I've got anyone beating him.
Because you know why they always say, right, that if you can't have the best of both worlds, you can't have the supreme conditioning and the size. Thing is, I think with Roelly, he can sacrifice some size. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And still be one of the biggest on stage.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You could probably argue the same for Ramy as well, but I think if we're looking at conditioning versus size, he could sacrifice some size and still be way bigger than anybody else on stage that's going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. I actually thought I remember thinking he could have got second, but I just thought, politics and all. You got to give Phil second if he's not winning.
I think it was politics because they gave him the People's Award, right?
Yeah.
What did you think of that, by the way? I thought that was bullshit.
I think he's pretty fucking funny when he came to accept it, when he's wearing those tracky bottoms.
He has that baseball cap on as well and shit.
Yeah, the baseball cap. He got like the WWE like wrestling belt and held it up to the crowd. I think it was a good moment.
Yeah.
But apparently something went wrong with the voting. Like everyone needed to vote on their phone, but the signal there was shit. So hardly anyone could vote. So, I mean, I think it is a bit of bullshit, but it added a little bit to the show. It was quite funny. But was it funny just because Roelly won it and Roelly's funny? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know, if I can't think of anyone, if Dexter won it, for example, would it be as interesting? I love Dexter, but probably not.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But then it's one of those things that people who tend to be interesting don't tend to win Olympias.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
I mean, I'm not saying Kai for me is rather, I wouldn't say interesting. I would just say he's weird as fuck. I don't like all that shit. Like, I think it's a bit odd. I mean, I'm not judging him. Do what makes you happy, but it's odd. I don't understand a lot of that stuff. As I know it's like art or whatever, but I don't really get it. But I don't see. I don't know. I just think if you're doing all that kind of stuff, it's a bit strange. I'm not sure that's really what they want to go for.
Yeah, you're right.
The winners are always pretty clean cut. I mean, you got Coleman, Kuclo, Dexter. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting this year. Whatever happens with fucking rape charges and Phil's and Kai's coming back, even if none of those three compete, it'll still be interesting. I think just because it's wide open, and hopefully they all feel that it's wide open, so they really go for it more than ever.
I'm gonna put you on the spot and to say your prediction for 2019, 9 weeks from now. What do you reckon?
I think the most logical one now is Curry for me, but I would prefer to see Roelly win it just because I like Roelly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I was going to say Curry as well. I think Curry's a front runner at this point because he's still improving rapidly. He's got the size, he's got the aesthetics, he's got the shape, and he's looking well. Unless something happens with his legs, I think this is going to be a good year for him.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think that's a good round off there, and it'll be good to see a couple of the other guys really surprise us and jump up, climb up a few positions.
Right, that sounds good. Right, I think it's time for both of our next meals, so I want to call this out here. But thanks for joining me, and we'll get this put up. And cheers for joining, Ollie, and speak to you soon, mate.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Nice one.